Hi dear friends, welcome back to Tech IT by SHK. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about quick settings. If you recall, we can access our quick settings by clicking on these three icons in the bottom right hand corner of the system tray. So if I click somewhere in here, it's going to open up that quick settings panel, and this is really just a fast way to get to some of the most important settings. So things like your volume, your brightness, you can see we can toggle off, and on the Wi-Fi we can turn Bluetooth off and on, so on and so forth. Now the important thing to remember here is that each one of these buttons that you can see in this quick settings panel is effectively just a shortcut to the main Windows settings tool. And what you'll also notice is at the bottom, we have a little gear icon, and if I click that, it's going to jump me across to system settings. Now a couple of things to point out in here. Obviously, if you need to adjust the brightness on your PC, you can just drag this slider, the one underneath which controls the volume on your PC. Notice that we have a little arrow that goes off to the right hand side. If we click this, this is going to allow us to manage multiple audio devices, so you can choose the one that you want to use. So you can come into here, and you can choose the audio device that you want to use for your sound. And if you want to quickly jump into the full list of settings for audio, you have more volume settings at the bottom, which you've probably guessed is going to jump across to the system settings and straight into sound. And from here, you can make more detailed and granular adjustments. And this works pretty much the same for all of these buttons. So, for example, this Bluetooth toggle that we have here, if I right-click on that, I can select Go to Settings. It's going to jump me back across to System Settings and straight into the relevant category. So a super useful little right-click menu. Now what about if I want to edit what I'm seeing in this quick settings panel? For example, maybe I'm not interested in having quick access to the nightlight? Well, we can edit our quick settings if we right-click. We have an Edit Quick Settings option just here. If I click, this is basically going to allow me to go through and effectively unpin anything that I don't want in this panel. So if I'm not interested in Nightline, I can select to unpin, and that's going to get rid of it. If I want to add a different quick setting, I have an Add button at the bottom, and then I have a list of everything that I can add into this quick settings panel. So maybe I want to add flight mode, which is effectively airplane mode. I can also move these around, so maybe I want to have flight mode up here instead of battery saver. I can simply drag and drop. Once I'm happy with my new layout, just click Done at the bottom to save those new settings. So this is really cool. I recommend you jump in there, remove the things that you think that you're not interested in, and maybe add some other settings to this panel. Now we've been into system settings a few times so far in this course. So now it's time to take a little bit of a deeper explore and see the types of things that we have access to in there. Now settings is the tool where you can set preferences for the way things will work on your computer. And to get there, we can click on the Start button in the taskbar. And for most people, you will find that settings is one of your pinned applications. Now, if you don't see settings in here, what you can do is click on All Apps, and you got all your applications organized in alphabetical order, so you could search for system settings up the top here. Or you can scroll down to see which is going to be all the way at the bottom. And there it is in that if you want to pin this to that Start menu, if you right-click, you'll have a pin to start in here. Obviously, I already have my pin, so the only option I have is to underpin it, and it's click on Back to go back to the Start screen. So let's jump into settings now. We have lots and lots of different options in here. We have our main categories listed on the left-hand side, and then we have subcategories depending on which category we've selected. Now we're not going to go through all of these right now. I just want to highlight a few of them so you can get a feel as to where things are located. And the first thing to note here, and this is a bit of a lifesaver, is that just at the top here we have a Find a Setting field. So this is essentially your search bar. So if you are looking for a specific setting, and you don't want to take the time to go through every single category and subcategory, you can type in what it is that you're looking for and it will pull it straight up. So if I'm looking for my sound settings, I can type in sound and I get a few different options here. If I want to jump straight into my general settings, I can click sound settings and it's going to take me to that area. Now, if you want to get back out of whichever submenu that you're in, you have a couple of different options. I can use the breadcrumb trail just above, and a breadcrumb trail basically just lists out the menus that you've gone through. So currently, I'm in the system category in the sound subcategory. So if I want to get back to system, I can simply click on the word system, and that's going to take me back right at the top here. I have a back row, and if I click that, it's going to take me back to where I just was. So a couple of different ways you can effectively backtrack out of where you are. So let's take a look at a couple of common things you might want to do. So I'm in the system category. Let's jump into the display subcategory, because this is what you can come to adjust things like the brightness and also things like your display resolution. Now, most of the time, you're going to find that it will auto-detect the recommended resolution for the display that you're using. So for me, that is 1920 by 1080. But if you click the drop-down, you have a whole choice of different resolutions. So if you want to have a play around with these, you can just remember that in general, the higher the resolution, the smaller the icons, and everything will be on your display. Let's now jump across to the Bluetooth and devices category, because this is where you can manage and set up your Bluetooth devices. So if you have things like a wireless mouse or wireless keyboard, maybe some headphones, this is where you would come to set this up. Now we're going to run through a demonstration of how to set up Bluetooth devices in the next lesson. Now, another important option. I probably should have done this before we jumped into Bluetooth. Let's go back to system towards the middle here. We have a power and battery option. So this is going to give you some information about your level of power, and I'm using a PC. But the thing that's important here are your power options. So, for example, screen and sleep. So my system is basically set to automatically switch into sleep mode after a specified period of time. And you can see here I've set this to 20 minutes. So if I get up from my system and I go away to make my dinner after 20 minutes, my system is going to go into, which means my battery or power usage is going to be minimal. Now that doesn't matter quite so much if you have your system plugged in all the time. But if you don't have it plugged in, this can be super helpful when it comes to maintaining the longevity of your battery in your laptop. And you can see that you have some other options. You can customize different options for when it's plugged in, when it's using battery power, so on and so forth. So I definitely would recommend that you jump in here and customize these to your liking. Let's now jump across to the personalization category, because this is kind of where the fun stuff lives. This is where we're dealing with things like a desktop background, the wallpaper that we're using, the colors, the themes, all of the pretty stuff in Windows 11. And the first thing you'll notice here are some of the new themes that you can apply. And you can see that I have this new, lovely looking HD background. And there's some really lovely ones in Windows 11, so have a little play around with these and select the theme you'd like to apply. Now, we're not going to focus too much on themes here, but I do want to jump into colors because this is where you can choose your mode. So whether you're using light mode or dark mode. So if I switch to dark mode, notice that all of my windows change to this dark color, and some people do prefer this, they find it a lot easier on their eyes. Now what we also have in here is a custom option, and this allows me to choose what I want for my default Windows mode and what I want for my default app mode. So if I want my applications to be in light mode, but I want Windows to be in dark, I can do that from here. So I'm going to leave my Windows mode on dark mode, but I'm going to change my applications to lights. If I switch these around the other way, I might want to have my Windows in light and my applications in dark. So you do get that choice if you use custom mode. Now I like to have all of my windows in light mode, so I'm just going to switch this back to light. So hopefully now, just by jumping into some of these different categories, you're kind of getting a feel as to how settings is set up and how it works. My biggest tip here would be if you are looking for something, and you don't want to browse through all of these categories. Use the search bar at the top. So now let's discuss what exactly is a user account. Well, the main thing it provides is a level of security. No one else can log into your computer without your username and password. So they effectively keep your computer and your work safe. User accounts also allow for multiple uses. For example, if you are a family at home and everybody in the family uses the same computer, everybody can create their own user account, which houses their files and settings separately. So what type of account should you create? Because there are two main types of accounts now for most editions of Windows 11. There's only one option here, and that is, you should have a Microsoft Online account. So for this, you'll need to use your Microsoft 365 username and password. Now, it might be that you already have a Microsoft 365 account, or you might have to set one up. And there are numerous different types of Microsoft 365 account that you can create. Remember, Microsoft 365 is a subscription service, so there is a monthly. And for that, you get access to all of Microsoft's online services, which includes apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and gives you access to OneDrive to store your files. You'll also need a Microsoft 365 account to make purchases in the Microsoft Store. So aside from a Microsoft Online account, what other option do you have? Well, you could choose to create a local account, and a local account is a basic username and password that is simply used to sign into your computer and isn't linked to anything else. And some people do prefer to have local accounts on their computers if they don't really use any of Microsoft's online services. Now it's worth noting here that if you had a local account on Windows 10, and then you upgraded to Windows 11, you can continue to use that local account to sign into Windows 11. You could even, if you wanted, to make multiple accounts and set them all up as local accounts. Now, for most editions of Windows 11, the local account option is not available for the primary user during the setup process. Mostly, these type of local accounts are used on computers that need to be used anonymously, such as in a public space, like a library or a school. And some people simply prefer local accounts because they're a little bit simpler and they're not linked to any online services. So just remember, if you do create a local account to sign into your PC with, there are going to be lots of services that won't work because they require a connection to an online account. So if you don't have a Microsoft Online account, you will be walked through the process of creating one the first time you set up Windows 11 on your computer. Now it might be that you already have a Microsoft account, which you've set up to use another service. If that is the case, you won't need to set up a new account. So it might be that you have an Xbox Live account, or you already have a Microsoft 365 account. You might even have an Outlook.com account, or if you're really old like I am, you might still have a Hotmail.com account. If you have any of these, then you can use your existing username and password to sign into your PC.
Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon. Enable all alerts to get new video updates. Share this video and channel with your friends and family. Bye from SHK.